Hey everyone, what's going on today? Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to be doing a demonstration on this new Google product, NotebookLM. I'm going to be specifically gearing this tutorial towards people that are either small business owners, specifically around the marketing world, if you run your own small agency, or business executives that are maybe at a higher level and are interacting with a lot of accounts and teams on the marketing side, or any small business owner in general. This tool is really awesome because it allows us to create a searchable environment of text, up to 50 documents at 500,000 words each. And this is an extremely powerful tool. It's especially powerful as well because it's connected into the Google ecosystem, leveraging Gemini as the base model. And we're able to integrate as a result of that many of the Google products into this. So Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Drive. It streamlines a lot of the operations in terms of getting documents inserted into here. And just from a workflow perspective, it's very pleasant to use. So I'm going to hop into my first notebook here. And the great part about this is you can create multiple notebooks. So if you work on the agency side and maybe you touch a lot of different accounts and stuff like that, maybe you create a separate notebook per each account. And then that allows you to kind of streamline the process of searching the text, and it's all compartmentalized. And what you're basically doing is you're doing a very, I would say, budget version of, setting up an actual retrieval augmented generation, a RAG pipeline essentially into like your own model, which would take a lot of work, a lot of back end and experience from like engineers and stuff like that. And so a little bit better to some degree at generating contextual responses than setting up like a Claude project or working on, using the GPTs, in my opinion, to this point. And I'll show you why I'm saying that in a moment and some of the pros and cons of using this versus using Claude and ChatGPT, which I still use, just not for these specific use cases, right? So what I've done here is I've generated a synthetic data set of multiple things, and this is kind of our corpus of text that we're going to be searching with our model, which is really cool. So I have just like a random media brief essentially for BMW, a fake client, and kind of talks about the key tactics, event support, dealership. This would be like a client brief, essentially, if you work in the marketing world, or if you run a small business, maybe this is a client specifically that you want to be able to reference a large amount of text for. We have, some fake calls, call transcripts. So if you use Google Meets, you can actually streamline this because if you use Google Meets, every time that you meet with somebody, it automatically outputs that transcript to your Google Drive. And again, this is great because it already uses Google Drive, so you can just automatically input that into the system. And then I have some fake email correspondences as well. And as you can see, it's already starting to analyze each of the sources. And you can see like, oh, it's creating some key topics. It can provide a summary. So again, if you're an executive at a company, this is already going to be great because maybe you are touching a lot of different accounts and you need to have quick updates about what's going on with a client or things like that. This allows us to streamline the ecosystem and create a better, more searchable environment for you to get specific answers to what you're looking for versus having to scrub for it yourself in your inbox or whatever different communications that you're using, Slack, etc. You can actually just generate out and create like Google documents, and that's going to allow for you to input that. You can refresh it like once a month if you want, keep updating it relevantly. And again, you can streamline some of those workflows. So the great part about this is I already know from the synthetic data set because I built it. I can say what type of performance issues is the team seeing? Okay, let's go ahead and input that. And this is going to be really cool because again, we're being able to search this specific corpus of text, and it's going to provide for us a very specific output that is gleaned from these documents only. And again, this is pretty cool because up until this point, you would have to set up like a RAG pipeline into another model or augment it that way. You can get similar results with Claude projects or with ChatGPTs, where you're able to kind of like augment the outputs. This is the first one I've seen where it's really just plug and play and you're able to get the specific responses that you're looking for that are extremely contextually relevant to whatever you're doing. So again, this is really great. It's telling us, hey, we're seeing a drop in engagement. And the cool part about this is this model is building its responses based off the corpus of text that it's looked over. So you can ask really specific granular questions, which is what we're going to do in a little bit. But the cool part is this actually also works as an extremely viable search engine for these documents. And we're able to see like where in the text is it gleaning this from? How is it building its understanding of the data universe that we've put it in? And then it allows us to cite and look at specific data sources within our searchable environment to be able to highlight this is where the problem is, or this is contextually relevant to you. If you're searching for this, read this, right? And again, that's super powerful if you are an executive that doesn't have a lot of time. If you're a small business owner and you're touching a lot of different things, sometimes you don't have the time to be able to like try and find these specific things. You want to be able to search and look for exactly what you need to be able to provide the response that you have to. So this is already really incredible. And again, it's really cool because it's actually gleaning from multiple sources. So if we go to like maybe one of these, you're seeing this is fake meeting transcript 3 versus this one is transcript 1. And it's able to stitch together across multiple documents what's going on. It's using a combined understanding of what's contained in the text to be able to provide for us a contextual answer to our problem. So I'm going to specifically ask it about how are DCO creatives affecting this. So we're asking like a more granular question now about a specific tactic, right, in the marketing world. Again, maybe this is a social media tactic. Maybe it's user-generated content. What's driving performance? What's helping it? So I'm going to go ahead and ask a specific question about DCO. And again, this is going to glean from those documents anything that could be seen as relevant to us, and then it's going to provide that in the output as well as citing where we got it from. So DCO is used for personalization, blah, blah, blah. You know, this is why we know that positive impact on mobile. So it's going to say like, oh, like this is driving positive performance in mobile. And again, I want to be very clear. This is not perfect yet. As you can see, like it's not always highlighting the text per se, which would be like helpful there. I mean, it's still a work in progress, but it's been very fast to like gain new features and stuff like that. And it's already super helpful, even if it just pulls it up and you have to glean for it for yourself for a minute. But I think that's really powerful to be able to create a searchable environment based off of a corpus of text. So again, you can see the use cases in terms of like how this could be very helpful to you as a small business owner. If we start to work a couple of these things together and we create, you know, this is even good as a work environment now to say, okay, let's help pull in ideas for today. This is going to change the way that agencies operate, that small businesses operate, that people search for things in the future, because it's going to, instead of having us, in the same way that Perplexity streamlines a lot of the search process, this is going to help us glean information from documents and from corpuses of text that we use in an efficient way. I hope that this demonstration was pretty interesting. I hope that you enjoyed it. This is just, again, one example specifically built for small business owners, for people that run their own marketing agency, for business executives or teams that are ingesting a lot of text. This is how you can set up a tool like NotebookLM to be able to kind of streamline your workflow. And again, the last thing I wanted to highlight here, again, this is great, it provides a summary of all of it and multiple things like that. You can actually generate a podcast, which has been the big one. And again, I think that the podcast is awesome, but for me, the ability to create a closed searchable environment is incredibly powerful. But the podcast is also really cool. So if you're a business executive, let's say you're driving in the morning and your team has updated this already because multiple people can have access to this, which is incredibly powerful. And they've updated it with all the important information that you need to know. You can literally create a podcast now and share a podcast to multiple people of two models talking about the information and being able to use that to prep you for whatever you need. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and see how the use cases can be built out. And then we'll continue to experiment and build out even more use cases for this tool to be able to leverage it for your teams and streamline the work that you do. Thanks.